Ling Han could finally begin his cultivation. He had waited for 3 long days, but that was nothing compared to the 10,000 years of anticipation in his heart. Now that the moment had arrived, he wasted no time, swiftly sitting cross-legged and preparing to cultivate. However, just as he was about to begin circulating the 5 elements heaven-grade skill, he hesitated, stood up, and opened the door to his room, stepping out into the courtyard. Liu Yutong was still secluded inside the inner chamber, striving to break through to the 9th layer of the element-gathering tier. He knew that cultivating too close to her would disturb the spiritual environment and hinder her progress. His consideration for her was as clear as day. What a thoughtful master he was. Ling Han settled in the courtyard, which belonged to his father, Ling Dongxing. As the clan head of the Ling clan, his father's courtyard was spacious, but Ling Han had long dismissed the servants and allowed only the delivery of 3 meals a day. Let me see the magnificence of an immortal-grade spirit base. With a simple mental command, Ling Han's spirit base bloomed like a glorious flower. A lotus formed at the center of his being, a perfect harmony of the 5 elements: gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. This was the pinnacle of a spirit base. Wang! A surge of spiritual qi rushed toward him from every direction, more abundant than ever before. The 5 elements, gold, wood, water, fire, and earth, each brought their unique spiritual qi swirling into him like a thirsty horse drinking from an endless spring. Ordinarily, a cultivator could only absorb one type of spiritual qi, for refining more than one at once was near impossible. A cultivator with a dual spirit base of fire and earth, for example, would absorb fire-type spiritual qi at a greater rate, refining only that element, and unable to take in earth-type qi. Yet, the 5 elements mixed Chaos Lotus spirit base could harmonize the 5 conflicting elements, allowing their energies to flow together in perfect balance. This was a wondrous feat, a secret to the perfect alignment of all 5 elements. However, absorbing the spiritual qi was one thing, refining it was another. Only the 5 elements heaven-grade skill could channel all 5 elements without a single misstep. This cultivation method was not something just anyone could handle. It demanded supreme concentration and control. Even the slightest mistake could lead to disastrous consequences. A wrong turn in the flow of origin power could cause bleeding from the mouth, or worse, instant death. With an immortal-grade spirit base, a heaven-grade skill, and unparalleled control, Ling Han was in an enviable position. He could feel the immense flow of spiritual qi, which quickly transformed into origin power, refining his blood, flesh, veins, and bones. As a martial artist in the body refining tier, his dantian was not yet open. Thus, his origin power could only be stored within his body, his blood, veins, and flesh. Once he reached the element gathering tier, he would open his dantian, forming a small world inside his body to house the origin power. In his previous life, he was a warrior of the heaven tier, so this process was familiar to him. With the greatest spirit base in the world and the best cultivation technique, his progress surged with speed as though wings had sprouted from his back. Ling Han breezed through the middle period of the 2nd layer of body refining tier, to the late period, and then to the peak. With a single tremor of his body, the 3rd layer barrier was broken. So fast. Ling Han nodded to himself, comparing his current speed with his past. In his previous life, he had a high-level heaven-grade spirit base, but it took him 12 days to progress from the 2nd to the 3rd layer of body refining tier, despite using a high-level yellow-grade cultivation technique. The difference was not that the heaven-grade spirit base was poor, but the cultivation technique in his previous life was vastly inferior. Now, standing on the shoulders of giants, his starting point was beyond anything his previous self could imagine. But he did not stop there. Ling Han pressed on, refining the spiritual qi around him, channeling it into origin power for his body. The early, middle, and late periods of the 3rd layer passed quickly, reaching the peak in mere hours. He was now at the very limit of the 3rd layer and on the cusp of the early body refining tier's 4th layer. But his mental energy had been largely depleted. The 5 elements heaven-grade skill required intense focus, and Ling Han could feel his energy waning. If he continued, it would be all too easy to misguide his origin power and undo all his progress. Still, he was not content to stop. He had come so far and was determined to break through to the fourth layer before the day ended. Ordinary cultivators needed days to accumulate enough origin power for a breakthrough, but for Ling Han, who had experienced the Heaven Tier in his past life, there were no barriers before Heaven Tier. "Breakthrough," Ling Han murmured, and with a subtle shift of his energy, his body trembled slightly. The fourth layer of body refining tier opened up before him. A smile flickered on his lips. Though this breakthrough might not be impressive for someone his age, to leap 2 minor layers in a single night was still a remarkable achievement. Moreover, the heaven-grade skill meant his origin power was of a purity beyond compare. His fourth layer strength was already on par with that of a peak body refining tier cultivator in the 5th layer, or even the 6th. Exhausted, he climbed into bed. The toll on his mental energy was heavy, and it didn't take long for him to drift into a light sleep. Despite being worn out, his consciousness remained alert, ready to wake at the slightest disturbance. The night passed, and he was soon jolted awake by a powerful fluctuation of origin power. He rose quickly, his mind alert, but it wasn't an enemy attack. Lu Yutong had broken through. She had just advanced from the 8th to the 9th layer of element gathering tier in 3 days, an impressive feat. The higher the tier, the harder the breakthrough, like rowing a boat against the tide. With a soft sound, the curtain door fluttered open, and Liu Yutong emerged, still enveloped in the surging energy from her breakthrough. "I did it," she said with pride, her face shining with joy. 3 days to cross the gap between the 8th and 9th layers, a feat that was truly worth boasting about. She glanced at Ling Han, eager to hear his praise, but when she saw him, her joy turned to shock. Her expression faltered as she pointed at him in disbelief. You're already at the 4th layer of body refining tier." She remembered clearly that just before her seclusion, Ling Han was only at the 2nd layer. She had only seen Zhu He-shin deliver his medicine the day before. How could he have gone from the 2nd to the 4th layer in just 1 day and 1 night? 1 day and 1 night to break through 2 layers. How could this be? Liu Yutong had thought Ling Han's potential had run dry, but she was now stunned by the miracle before her. Ling Han nodded with calm indifference. Yes, what about it? Her mind was reeling. How could he be so calm? Her voice trembled as she spoke. You've reached the 4th layer of body refining tier. If anyone had told her a day ago that she would be amazed by someone advancing to the 4th layer, she would have laughed it off. Yet here she was, speechless and awestruck by Ling Han's astonishing progress. In her eyes, Ling Han was no longer the trash of the Ling clan. How could such rapid growth come from someone like him? The sound of urgent knocks echoed through the air. Peng, 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 peng. Ling Han rose swiftly and approached the door. His gaze sharpened as he swung it open to reveal a young servant, breathless. A frown creased his brow, for he had clearly instructed that, unless matters were dire, no one should disturb him. "What is it?" he asked, his voice calm but commanding. "The clan head has returned," the boy servant replied hurriedly, eyes wide with excitement. At once, a surge of anticipation gripped Ling Han. His heart raced, an instinctive reaction rippling through him. The blood of his ancestors, the weight of his lineage. It all called out. "Father," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. This body, this name, it was his now, and the responsibilities that came with it were his to bear. Turning to Lu Yutong, he offered a smile. "Yutong, come with me to meet my father." A delicate flush immediately crept upon Lu Yutong's cheeks. It was a feeling she could not explain, as though she were a daughter-in-law preparing to meet her in-laws. "Pay!" she spat inwardly, irritated by the thought. There was nothing between her and this man. Why would she feel such a thing? "Where is father?" Ling Han asked, his voice urgent now. "In the main hall," the servant answered, bowing low. Ling Han did not waste a moment. His stride quickened to a run, the longing in his chest propelling him forward. As he burst into the hall, he beheld a tall man standing with an air of commanding authority. The man appeared to be in his 40s, broad-shouldered, handsome, and exuding an undeniable presence. At that moment, Ling Han could no longer tell whether his emotions were driven by his body's instinct or by his past as an orphan, starved for family. His throat tightened, and his eyes began to blur with unshed tears. The blood coursing through his veins surged. Father, he called out, his voice trembling with emotion. Hunter. The man's face lit up with a joyful smile, and he strode over to embrace Ling Han with open arms. But then his brow furrowed in confusion. Why are you still here at the clan residence? Aren't you supposed to be at Huyang Academy? Such was the love of a father, a love that transcended all. Ling Han savored the embrace. In his past life, the likes of Ling Dongxing would not have even registered on his radar. But now, with his eyes brimming with tears, he realized how much he had longed for this. This family, this love, something he had lost and now found again. I don't want to go to Huyang Academy, Ling Han said softly, wiping his eyes. Ling Dongxing's expression shifted to one of concern. He knew well that his son's spirit base was weak. Despite all his efforts, Ling Han's cultivation had stagnated. He had pushed hard to send Ling Han to Huyang Academy, hoping the academy's vast resources would elevate his son's cultivation to the element-gathering tier. But now, hearing that Ling Han didn't want to go, his anger flared. Such talent, so poor, and now this lack of ambition? It was unfathomable. Ling Han, of course, could not explain that in his previous life he had once been a heaven-tier warrior, a being who had stored countless cultivation techniques and martial skills within his mind. Nor could he tell his father that he had obtained the indestructible Heaven Scroll, a treasure that would take 10,000 years to fully comprehend. What could he possibly learn at Huyang Academy now? But Ling Han did not say these things. Instead, he turned to Lu Yutong and gestured for her to come forward. Yutong, come. This is my father. Lu Yutong bowed deeply. Yutong hereby greets the clan head of the Ling clan. Ling Dongxing was taken aback. He did not recognize Lu Yutong, but upon sensing her cultivation, 9th layer of element gathering like himself, his eyes widened in surprise. She was powerful. Far from being a mere junior, she was at his level. Could it be? A grin slowly spread across Ling Dongxing's face. He looked between his son and the young woman, joy lighting up his expression. Could it be because of you? He asked, the surprise mixed with delight. This girl, no older than 17 or 18, had already reached the 9th layer of element gathering. What immense talent! No wonder his son didn't want to leave. There must be affection between them. His son, it seemed, had a soft heart after all. Where are you from, miss? Ling Dongxing asked, his gaze fixed on Lu Yutong, his curiosity piqued. I am from the Liu clan of the Imperial City, she replied. The Liu clan of the Imperial City? Ling Dongxing's breath hitched. That Liu clan, one of the 8 great clans, second only to the imperial family in power, had a reputation that shook the entire country. He could hardly believe his ears. This girl was from such a prestigious family? A sudden thought struck him. Wait, you are the one sent by Huyang Academy to fetch Honor, aren't you? His eyes narrowed, realization dawning. Yes, Ling clan head, Lu Yutong answered softly. Ling Dongxing turned his gaze to Ling Han. My son, a piece of trash? He thought. No, not anymore. This boy had managed to win the heart of a girl from the Liu clan, one of the most powerful clans in the country. How had he done it in such a short time? Was there some charm in him that he had not noticed before? Ling Han merely shrugged. I'd like to stay by your side a little longer, father. I can go to the academy any time. Ling Dongxing laughed heartily. Good, good. The joy in his voice was undeniable. Ling Han could go to Huyang Academy whenever he pleased. There was no rush. But then his eyes widened in shock. He had noticed something unbelievable. Han, you've broken through, Ling Dongxing exclaimed, his voice trembling with disbelief. Lu Yutong couldn't help but feel a sense of comfort. At last, someone else was shocked by Ling Han's progress. Ling Han nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. Yes, I've broken through. You've broken through 2 layers. Ling Dongxing's voice rose with astonishment. To progress by 2 layers in such a short span, it was inconceivable. If Ling Han had only broken through 1 layer, it could be explained. But 2 layers? That was unheard of. Ling Dongxing's mouth twitched in disbelief. Was his son truly a piece of trash? If this was what was considered trash, then what were true geniuses? Lu Yutong felt comforted, but also a little embarrassed by Ling Han's nonchalant reply. Only acceptable? Let's see, who dares call my son a piece of trash again in the future? Ling Dongxing roared with laughter. His son, once thought to be talentless, had finally shown signs of greatness. Father, I had a fateful encounter, Ling Han said, his tone serious. Ling Dongjing nodded, the gears turning in his head. Yes, it must have been a fateful encounter. What else could explain such rapid progress? He chuckled to himself. This was no ordinary achievement. This was the result of something extraordinary.